So basically SLAP, and let me give you the background on SLAP first of all. So we want to help you build the right action plan for your business. And there's a couple of things that are important about what that is, right? First of all, the action plan for your business, and actually, you know what I'll do? I'll turn my camera off, and that way you guys can see the screen better. So the idea with SLAP is that in the old way of thinking in terms of business and the old way in which we sort of did business, we always had business plans, and business plans were sort of these antiquated, 10-year plans. And as we've learned, and particular as we've learned in the last year, the world moves fast. And so what we want to do is help you guys get really clear about your strategy, be really specific about what you're trying to accomplish. So you're going to see that we're very big believers in clear goals and really big believers in very clear plans. But really the purpose of those goals and the purpose of those plans are to drive you into action, as opposed to spending all this time and all this money building the perfect plan and then basically having it sit on a shelf, because as a business owner, you're really busy and you're running around and you're, taking care of the multiple priorities that are always on your plate. And so what we want to help you guys do is get clear on strategy, build a good plan, but make sure that it's the right plan that drives you into action. My background is in psychology, and so I built SLAP through the lens of behavior change science. And instead of thinking about sort of small business growth through the lens of just business, right? So, oh, well, what should the financials be? I think the financials are important, but more importantly, how do we adjust our human behavior? How do we optimize our action so that when we have a plan, we actually implement it, and so that plan motivates us to take action to achieve our outcomes, as opposed to simply having a plan for the sake of having a plan. So we're really committed to the idea that we want to build the right plan, but the right plan drives action. It's not just a plan. So at a high level, just to give you guys the bigger picture about Silver Lining, we are on a mission to change the success rate of small businesses around the world so that 80% succeed, not fail. It is incredibly obvious now more than ever that the world needs small businesses, right? Our economy needs small businesses. Our communities need small businesses. Job creation needs small businesses. And all of us as humans, I think, deserve to live a life where we do what we love every day, we're used to our best and highest calling, and we build something that is profitable and sustainable, and that really allows us to provide for our families and have a good life. So that's the mission we have. We see this every day with the incredible business owners that we work with around the world. We have business owners that we work with in over 25 countries. And we know this is true. When a small business grows, more kids go to school, more jobs are created, communities are invested in, and the economy grows. And so at an individual level, we're incredibly passionate about helping you accomplish your goals. But at a macro level, we really believe that small business is crucial for families, jobs, communities, and the economy. And we're committed to that big vision that, we can make the world better by seeing more small business owners succeed. And we really believe that we can change the economy one small business at a time. And so this is the mission that we come at the work from. We've got a really big global point of view. We have a global network where we connect the business owners we work with and the partners and the SLAP experts and everyone in our community together. And you would feel very quickly in the world of Silver Lining that we have a global mission, a global mandate, and a global vision. But we really believe that the global is accomplished in the individual. So for every single one of you, we believe, that we want to give you everything we've got to help you accomplish your unique goals and grow your unique business as we build that bigger vision. I built Silver Lining. I started in 2005. So I've been doing this for a really long time. And as I mentioned, my background is actually psychology. And so when I graduated from university, I took a job in business development, and I was working at a big ad agency, and I was running business development for that ad agency. And basically, I sort of had these two experiences. I had my experience in psychology, working with kids in prison systems and youth and kids with developmental disorders. And then I had this very corporate experience of doing business development. when I had moved to Toronto and I was new to that city, I started going to small business networking events just to make friends, to meet new people. And as I was doing that, and as I was meeting those people, what I realized is that as a small business owner, there's this kind of fascinating intersection of the psychology of being a business owner and sort of the business development strategy of being a business owner. And as I talked to businesses about why it was hard to grow their business or what they felt got in the way of them accomplishing their goals, what every single person told me in one way or another was basically, I feel like I never have enough time, or I feel like I never have enough money. So we call that capacity and cash flow. When I dove deeper and I asked more about that, right? Why is it so hard to grow a small business? What is going on? What I would hear people say to me is, well, I need more money to make more time, or I need more time to make more money. And so as I heard this over and over and over again, I started to call it the cash flow capacity catch 22. The irony of this is that the other thing that's true is that in order to grow a business, it requires time and money. So basically, the sort of, as I was thinking about this big mission, right? People deserve to make money doing what they love. We can change the economy one small business at a time. I was also having all of these individual conversations where people just felt sort of overwhelmed by the fact that there was never enough time, never enough money. Now, this is one of the most fun questions I always ask because I'm waiting for someone to tell me that I'm crazy, right? Do any of you have too much time or too much money, right? If that's the case, then high five to you, and you are, you are one in a billion, and that's amazing. And I'm actually genuinely really happy for you. But most small business owners laugh at that statement and say, oh my gosh, yeah, haha, as if I have too much time or as if I have too much money, and really can find some truth in this reality, right? So here's the grand irony of growing a small business. In order to grow a small business, we need to spend time and money, right? We need to invest in that growth. The two things we feel like we don't have enough of are time and money. And then the reality is we feel like we need more money to create more time and more time to create more money. It's sort of in this insanity, this cash flow capacity catch 22, that businesses ultimately struggle and ultimately fail. And so if we can't figure out how to sort of manage this cash flow capacity catch 22, that's when we go into one of two dangerous places. We either go into planning paralysis or action frenzy. Now, I invite you to think about which one of these is your natural go-to. Okay, so one option is you're stressed about time, you're stressed about money, you feel like you don't have enough, and so you go into planning paralysis, right? You kind of don't do anything. You say to yourself, okay, well, I'll build another plan. I'll go to another webinar. Maybe you'll listen to this Slap Intensive. Hopefully this one will be different. But you keep thinking that if you just plan more, if you just build a new website, if you just start a blog, if you just get another coach, if you just do another planning session, somehow you'll magically solve your problems. The other option is you go into action frenzy. Action frenzy is, you're running your relationship with your head cut off. You're going to every networking event on the planet. You're running from this to that, to this to that, and doing this, and basically just throwing spaghetti at a wall and running around like crazy with no focus and no discipline. Both of those reactions to the cash flow capacity catch 22, both planning paralysis and action frenzy, can lead you to being stuck. And we call stuck, and that's like an actual thing in the world of silver lining. And it's not elegant, but it's just truthful. I think about my entrepreneurial journey. I've been an entrepreneur for 15 years, and I've been building silver lining, through the ups, downs, and arounds of that in this time. And I look at, some of my hardest moments, the moments where our cash flow and capacity catch 22 were the absolute most intense, or moments where I feel like I made massive mistakes. And as a result of that, had messed with my time and my money in a significant way. And I got stuck. I've been stuck many times in my 15 years. And so we don't want to have shame around being stuck, but we do want to recognize that when we live in the cash flow capacity catch 22 for too long, we start to get into action frenzy or planning paralysis. The risk factor of that is that we move to getting stuck. If we're stuck, that means we're not growing. If we're stuck, it means we're not, using our time and money wisely. If we're stuck, it means we're not, seeing opportunity and moving forward. We're literally stuck. So what we want to do as business owners is recognize that time and money are our two most valuable resources. And because of that, we want to be really diligent about how we spend our time and our money. And in order to be really diligent about how we spend our time and our money, we have to be really clear about what we're doing. We have to have a really clear strategy. We have to be really clear and focused. And when we're really clear and focused, we can make really smart decisions about how to spend the time and money we do have, and then we can actually progress. One of the big ahas that I always have, and I continue to recognize and realize, even after 15 years of creating this methodology and teaching it and training it and implementing it so many times, is that we have enough. And that's a hard thing to sort of wrap our head around, especially, with the events of 2020 so recently behind us. But 99% of the time when I look at a small business and I look at the resources that it has and I look at everything going on in it, there is enough time and money. The issue is usually that we're spending it improperly, or we're wasting it. I can look at my calendar and almost every day I can find, 2 hours where I wasn't as productive as I could have been. If I had used that 2 hours every day for a week and then every week for a month, right, that's an extra 30 hours. I mean, what could I have done in 30 hours? What investment could I have made in growing my business? So what we see is that, the answer is not to always magically have to go find more time and money, but it is instead to actually learn how to manage the time and money we have. And in just simple, small changes, we can actually create big outcomes. And that's what's really encouraging. I think a lot of times we think that we've got to make these big moves. If I go raise a bunch of capital, or if I go, hire 5 people, if I could just do this, fill in the blank, this dream, if I could just make this thing happen, then magically my problems would be solved. And, that's a nice idea, but a more realistic, and I think actually more hopeful reality, is that if we just make small decisions to tweak how we're spending our time and money on a regular and ongoing basis, we can actually create really, really big and very exciting outcomes. So the good news is, that I think small business is big, and I think small changes make big outcomes, and that, we don't have to sort of live in this hype of, oh my gosh, I've got to do something dramatic. That's not just always the case. So as I mentioned before, SLAP is based in behavior change science. And what I want to walk you through is a couple of key concepts. The first, on the left-hand side, I think, if you're looking at this, is this idea of stages of change. People always say, there's that phrase, if you can't change someone who doesn't want to change, right? I would say, I can't grow your business unless you're ready to grow your business. I can't help you optimize your behavior until you're ready to optimize your behavior. So if you look at this, a challenge I would give you, and I'd even offer, if you would be so bold, put it into chat, what stage of change do you find yourself in? So the first is pre-contemplation, right? You don't even know there's a problem. Contemplation, you see that there could be a need for behavior change, and you're contemplating the pros and the cons of that change. Preparation, you're experimenting with small pieces of behavior change, right? Maybe you signed up for this. You're thinking, maybe I do want to think differently about my business, or maybe I do want to add some structure and support to how I do what I do. Action, you're making definitive changes, right? You see what's not serving you, you're getting rid of it. You've got new things that you're trying to implement. You're making, definitive changes. You're taking action. Maintenance is you're maintaining new behavior over time. So this means you've taken the action and now you're maintaining it. A good example of this is you've lost 20 pounds and now you're working hard to maintain that weight loss. Relapse is an interesting and important one. Relapse is common, right? You guys have heard all the stats. If you join Weight Watchers and you lose all this weight, but then you don't keep on Weight Watchers, there's like a 90% chance you're going to gain all your weight back plus more. So relapse is the full or partial return to your previous behaviors, often accompanied by negative feelings. What we're really focused on is if you're ready to take action, if you're ready to make change, we want to give you the structure and support to do that. And then to do the maintenance part. The maintenance part's the hard part, right? It's easy to sort of find a spark of motivation and to sort of get motivated to make change, to change a couple things. And then, as we all know, it's very easy that 2 days later or 2 months later, we just go back to the same old behavior. And one of the things that, again, it's not a sexy message about growing a small business, right? I know that it's so much more fun to like read these blogs or these accelerators that say, you know, if you just do this 6-week program, you'll grow your business by 100% and, you know, you'll make millions of dollars. Well, I think that that's a very lovely idea. What behavior change science says is that's really not realistic, right? What real success looks like, and if you talk to people who are highly successful, not, you know, spurts of success, but long-term and highly successful, what they have in common is sustained behavior. They've got this discipline and this focus and also a support structure built around them where they take action, right? They're very action oriented. But then they really invest heavily in maintenance so that they don't go into relapse. And they really look at sort of building momentum in their business over a long period of time, sustained change over a significant period of time that adds up to the success that they want. Now, how do you actually stay in maintenance, right? How do you not go to relapse? So in behavior change science, it has what we call basically the pillars of behavior change science. And this is the same basic formula that Weight Watchers, the 12-step program, Fitbit, you know, all of the programs that are out there that want to help you set a goal and then hit that goal and then maintain that goal are using basically some combination of this formula. The first is gaining commitment. And this goes to what I said, right? We can sit on this, this webinar together, this online session together for the next couple of hours and have a wonderful time. And we will. I'm going to give you guys lots of content. You're going to build a great plan. We're going to have fun. It's going to be great. But if you're not truly committed, right, to actually implementing that plan, if you're not truly committed to doing what's required to get out of cash flow capacity catch-22 and not move into action frenzy or planning paralysis, then all the webinars in the world, right, all the online courses in the world won't make a difference, right? At the end of the day, it's not the external that makes the change, it's the internal. So for any goal to be hit, it has to start with commitment internally, 100%. Then the science actually uses the language set modest goals. One of the things, and we're going to talk about financial goals in this session, but one of the things that I always think is funny is when I ask a business owner what their financial goals are, the typical response I get is either, well, I just want to, grow a little bit. I want to make a little more money, that answer. The other answer is, I want to make $1 million or I want to make $2 million. It's some number that they basically picked out of the sky. And I always say, well, why? What do those numbers represent? Would you be profitable? What would your expenses be? And is it attainable? So there's a difference between saying, I could say to all of you, I want to make $100 million. Great. That's a hope, that's a wish, that's an idea. But a goal is something I know I can accomplish if I work really, really hard and it's measurable and I understand exactly how I'm going to get there. And so I'm going to teach you in this session how to set a goal that's really ambitious and that really will challenge you to be sort of your best and to be ambitious and to do everything you dream of, but also that fits that requirement of being modest. There's something that happens in our brain. If we consistently set goals and then we never ever hit them, we're basically training our brain that we cannot hit goals, that basically we're failures, that we can say we want to grow our business, but we're never going to do it. So setting that modest goal sets us up for success. And every time we set a goal and then hit the goal, we are training our brain. It's like being an athlete, a high performance athlete. Like, oh, my brain's becoming high performance. I know I'm building belief that I can set a goal and hit it, set a goal and hit it. And that becomes very powerful. Rigorously tracking behavior, right? What does, if you're in the 12-step program, you're counting every single day you've been sober, right? If you're in Weight Watchers, you're counting every point you eat. If you have a Fitbit, you're counting every step you take, right? Those are all examples of rigorously tracking behavior. Being so in tune with exactly the behavior you're taking that's basically building up to and leading up to the goal you have. Building self-efficacy. This is basically about building confidence, building the belief that you can hit your goals, right? And that happens by having small wins over and over and over again over a sustained period of time. Obtain counseling or coaching, right? What behavior change science would tell you is that none of us are meant to do anything alone. None of us can make significant change by ourselves. All of us need to have outside support. And so I talk very openly and proudly about the fact that I've got, I think, about 6 people in my life who are personal trainers, business advisors, therapists, people who I go to hold me accountable, to keep working on myself, to try to make sure that I have outside accountability and perspective in my progress and in my efforts to hit my goals. Seek out peer support. This is about having other people around you, right? Like on this call, right? Even just, engaging with other business owners, because one of the things that can happen as a business owner, we can feel really lonely. We can feel like our challenges are really unique. We can feel like we're big failures because things are going wrong and we feel terrible and we think, oh my God, no one else would have made this mistake. But then what always happens is when you talk to another business owner and you are vulnerable enough to share what's really going on with you, you discover we're all in it together, right? Every mistake you've made, I've probably made. Every mistake I've made, one of you's probably made. Every thought I've had, every experience I've had, every high and every low, we've all had. And so when we're in it together, it actually creates the environment for us to be more successful. And then lastly, that, long-term behavior change is about creating new habits. It's not flash in the pan. We've sort of been sold this bill of goods as entrepreneurs, right? That the story of success is, Mark Zuckerberg, he dropped out of college and he, started this thing. And then all of a sudden he was a billionaire and like, woo, there you go. That's not the story of success. That's a story of a freak incident, and basically building Facebook, there's less of a chance of that than winning the lottery. That's sort of the uniqueness of that story. The real story of success, right, is, people who are consistently instilling new habits that are allowing them to increase their behavior in modified ways on an ongoing basis and build a sustained good business. That's what we're about. And I always say that, I'm a very ambitious person. I'm a very big picture thinker. I'm a very excitable person, and I see possibility everywhere. And so it's ironic that I'm the messenger of this idea that, real change isn't about one big idea and some big flash in the pan, but really I've come to see that in order for me to live my big vision, in order for me to deliver on my big goals, it actually comes down to this stuff. It comes down to, being committed, setting modest goals, rigorously tracking my behavior, building my self-efficacy, obtaining counseling and coaching, seeking out peer support, and instilling new habits. It's the unsexy stuff. It's the unexciting stuff. It's the day-to-day behavior that adds up to the big success. And that's what we want to offer you guys. That's what we want to bring to you in a way that helps you make these very reasonable, very realistic changes, and accomplish the goals that you have. So how do we do that? What exactly is SLAP? And then we're going to get into the strategy right away. So based on everything I've told you, it's a behavior change program to develop habits that result in long-term growth. It's an action plan, not a business plan. It's ongoing training to improve the ability to build a profitable, sustainable business. And it's a full year support structure to get results, not just another seminar or workshop. Think of SLAP as basically, it's like Weight Watchers for your business, or it's like an AA program for your business, or it's like Fitbit for your business. It's basically creating the structure to set goals and then the consistency and all those pillars of behavior change to help you hit those goals. So this is what we're going to go through in this session. And this is where pen and paper are so important. And this is where we want to do some really good work together. So first step we're going to talk about is your mindset. So what are the values and priorities that are important to basically build a mindset that will allow you to grow your business? Second is we're going to create your SLAP statement. This is where you're going to name 3 things. What do you do? Who do you do it for? And what scale do you do it on? And I'll walk you through exactly how to do that. Then we're going to build your profile of your ideal client. Then we're going to talk about the numbers. So we're going to look at basically a framework to get really clear about your expenses, your income streams, your profit margins, your overall business model, and use all of that information to set 1-year sales goals. So in the next 12 months, how do we get your business to increased profitability and sustainability? How do we, even in the midst of, difficult financial realities and global unrest and all the things that are happening around us, how do we still get really centered on what our financial goals are and what we have in our power and our control, and how to drive towards those? Then we're going to build the action plan. And your action plan is basically, if you've got 12-month sales goals, your action plan is your 12-month business development, marketing, and sales plan. And we have a fairly different approach to marketing and sales, which I'm going to teach you. And it's really about, thinking about how you can use the time and money you have, not spend a fortune on, huge amounts of marketing or, $20,000 website redesigns. How can you be really responsible and basically spend, a good amount, but a reasonable and sort of limited amount of money and time in a really effective way to go out and find new customers. So this is all about finding new customers in order to hit your financial goal. And then the last step, which we'll talk about, is actually implementing that plan. So what we're going to do is we're going to build that plan. We're going to help you build the skeleton of the actual plan. But then, as everything I've said so far, right, that plan only matters if you implement it. So I'm going to teach you about, basically how you can build support structure around yourself, whether it's with Silver Lining or someone else. It's, it's not just a plug for Silver Lining. It's a plug for support, right? It's about this very strong belief I have, that behavior change science backs, which is that in order to actually accomplish that plan that you'll build, right, you need to have the right infrastructure around you so that you are operating at your highest and best self, and so that you can hit those goals. So we're going to talk about what that looks like. So let's get into it. So often when we talk to business owners, you'll say you want things like a business plan or a social media strategy or a personal brand or more revenue. And in the world of SLAP, we always have a slightly alternative point of view, right? So again, people say, well, I need a business plan. And we say, actually, we think you need an action plan, right? People say, well, I think I need a social media strategy. And we say, well, is your ideal client on social media, right? It doesn't matter what you need. It matters where your customer is. Where are they? And let's go connect with them there. People are spending a lot of time focused on building personal brands, right? We really believe that you need to build a well-run business, do excellent work, have your brand be based on the fact that you do good work, not just based on the fact that you post pictures of yourself. Businesses always want more revenue. We really want you to focus on profit, right? If your business isn't profitable, more revenue just means that you're basically making more money and losing more money if that revenue is not profitable revenue. So we want to help you think about what healthy, sustainable business looks like, not just having more revenue. Businesses always think they need more staff, right? We want to help you think about sustainability. How can you grow more efficiently? How can you grow smarter? How can you, understand how to get the capacity you need? I'm a big believer in hiring and small businesses being the engine of job creation, but how do we do it in a way that your business can sustain? A lead gen strategy for fast results, right? We think that it's about having a long-term plan for growth. Sometimes people think, oh, well, if I just had an MBA, if I just had more education, I could be better at growing my business. And we say, no way. There's no better way to learn how to grow a business than to actually be growing a business. So, build your skill set, learn how to build a profitable, sustainable business, but be confident that the fact that you're in it means you know what to do. And, one of the go-tos that we do as business owners is more courses, more seminars, more workshops. And of course, we want you to, keep learning all the time, but we don't want people to be in sort of this like planning paralysis where all you're doing is learning and not implementing. So, the challenge that I would give you today as you're listening to this intensive and building your plan, right? Don't just have this be another workshop that you sit through. Actually think about how you take this information and implement it, right? We want to make sure that you're learning new things, not for the sake of learning it, but for driving it into action. So all of that to say, let's dive in. Let's build this plan. So this is the first step in SLAP. And when we talk about business strategy, like I mentioned, we talk about, mindset, SLAP statement, your ideal client, your financial goal, and your action plan. We start with mindset because the reality is, and I've seen this, we've worked with over 10,000 small businesses in 25 countries, developed and developing, every age, gender associated, race, religion, location, you could imagine industry, size of business, type of business. I mean, we've worked with such a diverse and fabulous and wonderful group of humans. But one of the things that's true in all of them is that their business strategy manages less than the business owner's mindset. I have met a ton of incredible business leaders who, were facing really hard challenges, whose businesses were not that exciting or weren't that innovative, but they made them really successful. And I've met other people who had great ideas, really cool businesses, really innovative, perfect for the moment, tons of opportunity, and they ultimately didn't succeed. So, we've put so much emphasis for so long on the business plan. Is that a good business plan? And what I would invite you to consider is to actually really hold yourself as the CEO of your business, whether you have just yourself on your team or you and staff, you're the CEO. What's the mindset you're bringing to the business? Are you clear and focused and in the right mindset? Because your mindset, in my opinion, has a much greater impact on the success of your business than your business plan. So the questions to start to think about are, what do you most want your business to contribute to the world? Start to write these things down, whatever comes first. So, just let what kind of comes to the surface come out really naturally. What do you need most from your business to live a healthy life, right? I think sometimes we forget as business owners that ideally our business is actually helping us live a good life as opposed to ruining our life because all we're doing is working and feeling stressed and feeling the realities of being a business owner. How much money would you like to make from your business to live your life? Write that number down. Let's work our way back to it. And I'm going to come back to that in a second. How much money do you realistically have to invest in business growth this year? And how much time do you realistically have to invest in your business growth? One of the great disservices you can do yourself is to say something like, I want to quadruple my business in the next 12 months. But then at the same time, recognize, right, that your cash flow is really tight. You only have $500 for the year to spend on trying to find new customers. And you're already working 60 hours a week. You're not doing any business development. You're frantically trying to keep up with, the situation you have right now. And basically, you don't have any more time and money to give. If you don't have more time and money to give, right, then it's unrealistic that you're going to magically grow your business by 4 times. So what we always want to be doing is looking at this reality of, again, how are you spending your time and money, right? How do we free up time and money? How do we say no to things that are not serving you so that you can use all the time and all the money you have to get you where you want to go? And then realistically, how much time and money do you have to invest in growing your business? And then how do we make sure we set growth goals that are correlated, right? There's, so often in one part of our brain, we think about how we're spending our time and our money. And then in another part of our brain, we think about all of our ambitions and our dreams and how much success we want to have and how much growth we want to create. But those two things are directly connected. How much time and money you can spend to grow your business is directly connected to how much growth you can create. And so one of the big disconnects in business planning and in goal setting is that we don't look at the reality of these questions, right? What do you actually want? Do you even want to grow your business 4 times? Or is that just what you're saying because you think that's what you should say, right? What do you need from your business? What do you have to give your business? These are the places that we start from. These are the things we need to be thinking about so that we can build the right plan. Next, with your mindset, is your time. This is one of the things that one of my business advisors, Warren Rustan, has drilled into me, basically like a sergeant. Time is the great equalizer. We all have 168 hours per week. So if we think about the most successful people on the planet, they have the same amount of time as we do. So all of us on this call have the exact same amount of time. We all have the exact same amount of time as, every global leader and the CEO of the largest companies in the world. Time is the great equalizer. We have the same amount of time. So what is it about highly successful people that is different than less successful people? One would argue that there's lots of unjust reasons for that, right? Like privilege and all those types of things, which are real. But one thing we have in our control is our time, how we spend our time, the degree to which we are focused and diligent and clear about our time. So one of the things we encourage you to do is to actually create a time budget. And you can see the categories that we recommend here, and even our suggested sort of breakdown of a good way that you would invest your time over the course of a week. But you need to be clear that if you have this much time, right, how much of it's going to go to sleep? How much of it's going to be personal? How much of it's going to go to family and friends? How much are you going to spend on business growth versus business management, strategic thinking, personal development, and community, right? Understanding that running your business, keeping up with your customers, implementing what you sell, that is business management. That's different than business growth. And so one of the things, again, that we fall into, traps we fall into all the time as business owners, is we spend so much time working. So we think to ourselves, well, I don't know why my business isn't growing. This is so frustrating. Probably you're being pulled into business management activity a lot of the time, and you're not doing conscious business growth activity. So this is about really being clear, right? In order to grow my business, I have to spend time on business growth. In order to do that, right, I need to have clear time parameters, a time budget. So you build a time budget. That's the next piece. The last thing, or one of the last things around mindset, is really grounding in your impact. So what I encourage you to do is look at this list and pick the one that matters the most to you. What does growing your business allow you to impact? What matters to you? At the end of the day, what is driving you? Because as we all know, as business owners, as we all know, the day-to-day of being a business owner is a grind. It is hard work. It is tiring. It is frustrating at times. Sometimes it feels like everyone wants more of you, right? Your team wants more of you. Your customers want more of you. Your family wants more of you. I certainly feel like I'm failing lots of the time, despite working all the time and doing everything I feel like I can. And I know that that's a feeling we all share as business owners. What keeps me motivated, though, what keeps me going on those days where I feel like I'm failing or I'm frustrated or I'm tired, is that I really care about equality. I really care about creating a better economy. And those two things I recognize are bigger than me, and bigger than me being tired, or bigger than me being frustrated. And so I go back to those things. That is what keeps me in my mindset. I'm building something because I have a much bigger impact I want to have. For some of you, it might be providing for your family. One of our Slapsters has an impact goal of just putting $5,000 away as a safety fund for his family. He just wants to know that he's done that so that he has a little bit of a rainy day fund. Another Slapster cares about the environment, right? So they have an impact goal of, every time they hit a milestone, that they do one more change in their operating policies to make them more environmentally friendly. Basically, that as they grow, they're investing in sustainability. So each of these are equally viable and equally important. There's nothing on this list that is, a better impact or a worse impact. But what is important is for you to circle the one that really matters to you. Because when we build your business, as we build your plan, we want to be building it through the lens of what actually matters to you, so that you can keep yourself in the right mindset, keep motivated on those hard days. So those are the three things to do with your mindset, right? For the purpose of today. Think about that. So think about your number one impact motivator. Think about your time budget, right? Assign a time budget. Understand that, time is the great equalizer, and really be clear about these questions, right? What do you need from your business, and what can you give your business? And then from that lens, we're going to talk about what we can then create. So now step 2 is your SLAP statement. And again, if you guys have any questions, please put them into chat. So we want to make sure that you're getting, specific support for what you need. So your SLAP statement, it is time to gain clarity, right? And one of the things that so often happens in a business is that because we are trying to make our $1 trillion or our $1 billion, we just sort of do anything for anyone at any time. And so we get into this fear-based thinking that we'll just take any deal. Any deal is a good deal. Any business is good business. Sometimes we have to do those deals just because we got to pay our rent. And I get that. I'm not a purist. I get that sometimes you just got to get scrappy and do what you got to do. But in an ideal world, and what we want to be building towards, is that we are really clear about what we do. We are really clear about who we do it for, and we are really clear about the scale that we do it on. And it feels like it's counterintuitive, but the businesses that are the most specific and the most clear about these 3 things grow the fastest. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you're a real estate agent, and you say, your product or service is, I sell houses, any house. And your ideal client is, you'd say, well, listen, anyone could buy a house. An old person could buy a house, a young person could buy a house, a married couple, a single, this, that. It could be in that neighborhood or that neighborhood. I sell houses to anyone because anyone could buy a house. And then your scale is, anywhere someone wants to buy a house, right? Or anywhere I've got my license. So if you're a real estate agent that basically says to the world, I sell houses to anybody, just talk to me. Imagine how that resonates compared to a real estate agent who says, I sell starter homes for young families, in these 3 neighborhoods. What will happen is, if there's a young family out there in the world trying to find their next real estate agent, if they came across those 2 websites, they're definitely going to go with the real estate agent who specialized in them. Not only that, that real estate agent will be way better at their job because they'll have a real specialty. They'll really be good at selling starter homes, to these, young families in these neighborhoods. And so what happens as a business owner is that our instinct is that because we're worried we won't make enough money, or because we're worried there won't be enough business, we sometimes think, well, if we do more, then we'll be okay. What actually is true, and we've seen this over and over and over again, and I've got the stats to prove it, the more focused you are, the more you grow. So to give you guys an example, right, so the silver lining SLAP statement is silver lining sells SLAP to James. James is our ideal client. I'll explain that in a bit, on a global scale. And I'm very clear that those are my 3, that's my SLAP statement. SLAP, James, global. So when I have to make decisions about where silver lining spends our time or our money, I put it through that lens, right? So if we go all the way back to that cash flow capacity catch-22 idea, if I know that I don't have enough time and money to do everything, no one does, and so therefore I need to be really specific and intentional about where I spend my time and money, then what I do is, let's say someone says, hey, Crystal, will you come speak at this event? I think to myself, can I talk about SLAP? Will James be there? Is it global in scale? If the answer is yes to those 3 things, then I say yes. I find the time, I find the money, I figure it out. Sometimes those are those entrepreneur moments where you just find the money and you find the time and you run through the airport and you pull it off, you make it happen. But if someone asks me to do something, let's say someone says, hey, Krista, do you want to buy an ad in this newspaper? And it's a newspaper that no small businesses read, and it's in a small community that, is really small compared to our global scale. It could be a beautiful idea. It could be a really good deal. It could be really cheap. It could be all the things that, make us think we should say yes, but it's not the right way to use our time and money at Silver Lining. It doesn't help me sell SLAPs to James on a global scale. And so the SLAP statement is really to do 2 things for you, right? One, it's to give you almost like the relief of focus, right? When you can give yourself relief and just say, this is what I do. I don't do all those other things. This is what I do. And when you can say, like, this is who I do it for. This is who I want my customer to be. This is who I built my business for. And then you really name the scale. When you do that, it frees up so much mental energy. It frees up so much time and money. And more importantly, it keeps you in action. So, if you've ever been in a situation where you've had opportunities in front of you and you've deliberated and you've gone back and forth and you're swimming around in circles over and over and over again, and you're trying, right, to figure out, do I do it? Do I do it? Do I say yes? Do I say no? Should I go to this event? Should I not? Should I do this? Your SLAP statement just takes all that angst away. Literally all you do, right? Will I be able to sell my product or service there, or talk about it, or, be present about it? Is my ideal client going to be there? Is it connected to my scale? If the answer is yes, you say yes. If the answer is no, you say no. It gives you basically this filter that allows you to make key strategic decisions in a quick, effective, simple way. And so your SLAP statement, it seems so simple, right? Well, it's three little words, no big deal. But it's actually so significant. When you know the answers to these questions, you can immediately make yes or no decisions. You can immediately know when you should spend your time and money or when you should save your time and money. You can immediately identify, right, when there's an amazing opportunity in front of you that's perfect for your business that you want to go all in on, or where there's a really cool opportunity in front of you, but it's not actually going to help you. It's not in alignment with your SLAP statement. It's not going to help you grow your business. And so your SLAP statement is a game changer. It's also, if you work with a team, or if you have an advisory committee, or if you've got even a partner, like a spouse or a common law partner, it's a great thing to share with them, right? So instead of everyone debating or deliberating or giving you feedback that doesn't make any sense, right? Everyone can rally around your SLAP statement, right? So at Silver Lining, we sell SLAPs. That's what we do, right? Everyone at Silver Lining needs to know about SLAP, needs to be able to help it. Our sales team sells SLAPs, our management team manages SLAP, our product team builds SLAP, our marketing team markets SLAP. We are we have a centralized focus. This is what we do. And we got to be really good at it, because that's what we do, right? James is someone who is an owner-operated small business, has been in business for at least 2 years. They make their full-time income from their small business. They're super passionate. They're super motivated. They're super ambitious, and they're ready to basically be a high performer. They're ready to, hire the personal trainer. They're ready to, put the Fitbit on their wrist and start tracking their steps. They're ready to be their best, to maximize their potential, to hit their goals. That's James. That's our person. We're not here for startups. We're not here for people who, kind of have no ambition and no drive to get better. We're not here for people who, say they're going to do something but never actually do it. We're here for our James, our profile. And then global and scale. We're here for businesses everywhere around the world. And so because we have that clarity, I, as the CEO of the business, can make incredibly clear, fast decisions that are yeses and nos. Yes, that is a good use of our time and money. No, that is not. And that's what I want for all of you. Going back to what we started with, which is that number one, time is our great equalizer, right? How we spend our time has an incredible amount of impact on our success. But number two, going back to that cash flow capacity catch-22, right? If you can sort of agree with me, if you sort of agree that, oh my gosh, you're right, I don't really feel like I have enough time and money. I do always wish I had more time and money. Your SLAP statement is your path to that. Your SLAP statement gives you the chance to have more time and money, because what you'll realize is that as you look at your calendar and as you look at your credit card statement, if you could be so brave and bold, you'll see that you're spending a lot of time and a lot of money on things that have nothing to do with your SLAP statement. It's amazing how we can be so creative as business owners to come up with all these different things and call, that's business development, that's business development, that's business development. But actually, when we look at what we're doing with our time and our money, it's actually not, because business development is in alignment with your SLAP statement. So when you go to a networking event, right, and there's a bunch of people like you there, not your ideal client, that's not business development, because there's no way that you could actually grow your business there. Or if you, go to speak at a local event, but has nothing to do with what your business does, that's not business development. It could be something really lovely to do, right? But you'd probably put that in your community time budget, not your business growth time budget. So just having real honesty and real clarity about what your priorities are, what activity is actually going to help you drive your business, and really being honest and clear that that's the things that you're spending your time and money on is a really key factor to getting you to where you want to go. So that's your SLAP statement. Now, again, if you have any questions, please let us know. We want to be helping you, kind of wrestle through this and actually building these things out through this period. So put any questions you have into chat, and we will be monitoring that chat and making sure you get specific feedback on your specific questions. For your ideal client, this is step 3. So common situations for us, as we've already talked about, is that because we're afraid of basically missing out on opportunities, we don't have sort of clarity and specificity about who our ideal client is. And so we're afraid to miss out on revenue. We're trying to be all things to all people. We offer products or services outside of our core expertise. And the result is that we can dilute our message and our sense of specialty. And that's one of the things that we as business owners have that's really unique, right? Corporations have the time and the money. They've got the budgets and the people to be everything and everywhere. We as business owners, our magic power, right? Our defining characteristic, the thing that makes us really special actually, is that we're specialty, right? We're really good at something. We're experts, we're craftspeople. We have a skill or a craft that is unique to us. And if we water that down, then we don't have that part of being a business owner that actually makes small business so special. We end up, spreading ourselves too thin. And we don't have the time and money we need to actually grow our businesses, right? So what you see, and I see it all the time, is business owners who are trying so hard to do so much for so many different people that they end up just not being very good at any of it. And ultimately, they don't hit their own growth goals. And so this is what we want to avoid. So this, just really nailing this point in, you do not have enough time and money to talk to everyone. You don't often, usually even like the clients that fall outside of your core expertise, right? And that could mean that you just don't even like doing the work, right? You end up doing deals that you don't want to do, and those always become the most difficult clients. And the businesses who have the most defined ideal clients really do grow the fastest. And that really is the truth. I really can attest to that. So how do we know who an ideal client is? Your ideal client is someone who is happy to pay you for your product or service. There, a little tech glitch. Can you still hear me? Do you guys just want to give me a little thumbs up if you can still hear me? Okay, great. Thanks, Mark. I'm assuming if you can, everyone else can too. So I'll assume that we're good to keep going. Step 3, so your ideal client. So who is your ideal client? Your ideal client is someone who is happy to pay for your product or service. Your ideal client is someone who values you, your product, or the service you offer. Your ideal client is someone who refers your business to others, and your ideal client is someone you enjoy working with. So when you think about your ideal client, right, it's not just any client. Your ideal client is not your best friend who you give your stuff away to for free, or your ideal client is, not that person who, maybe they pay you and they're consistent, but they're really miserable. They're really hard to work with, right? In an ideal world, we want to build businesses where we've got a whole group of customers that fit this criteria. Now, that's obviously perfection. We don't always live in perfection, but why don't we aim to get as close as humanly possible, right? Why would we want anything less than that? So how do we define the ideal client profile? Basically, what we're looking at is who they are as people. Who is your ideal client? Now, if you're a B2B company, you might say to me, but I don't sell to a person, I sell to a business. And I would say to you, but inside of that business, there is a person. Inside of that business, there is a person who needs to make the decision to buy from you. So whether you're B2C or B2B or B to something else, you are selling to humans, right? Your ideal client is always another human. You've got to know who that client is, right? Who is that human on the other end of the deal? And that if they're buying a $2 widget or they're buying a $20,000, contract, they still are another human and you still need to know who they are. So the things that you want to ask yourself are, is your ideal client male or female? How old is that client? What's their status? Are they married, single, divorced, separated, dating, widowed? Do they have kids? And if so, what's the basic age range of those kids? Where do they live? Do they live in an urban center, in a rural area, a suburban area? What does that mean for their lifestyle? What type of dwelling do they have? Are they owners or renters, right? Do they live in a house, a farm, a duplex? What is their sort of status? What's their reality in terms of their home? What's their employment status? Are they employed, self-employed, students, retired? What level are they? So, do you need someone who is a stay-at-home mom, right? So they're basically, they're self-employed, or maybe they're unemployed, or they're full-time employed in the house. Or are you looking for a mid-level person in a corporation? Or do you need an executive? Do you sell to other business owners, right? Like, who is the person? What is their status in their career? What's the size of company that they work for, if they work in a company? What's their income level? How much money do they make? What does that mean in terms of the way that they think and the way that they process their buying decisions? What's their main mode of transportation? Do they take a car, a bus, a train, a subway, a plane, a bike? Do they walk? What's the last thing they read? What are their hobbies? What are the things that they do in their spare time? What do they enjoy, right? How does that tweak how you could even communicate with them? What groups or clubs do they belong to? What causes are close to their hearts? And how would you describe their personality? Is there anything else about them that you think is important? Now, this is very different, right? Having an answer to each of these questions is very different than you simply saying, well, I sell to women ages 18 to 45, right? That is not an ideal client. That's a target range. That's a demographic. That's a portion of the population. Having answers to these questions is actually an ideal client. Having answers and understanding this level of detail gives you the clarity and the focus of actually understanding how you would go find this person, how you would present information to them, what your website should look like, the language you should use, the colors you should use, all those decisions that you toil about, right? Oh, should I do this or that? Or how should I say this? It doesn't matter, because now that you know who you're talking to, right? Now that you know who you're connecting with, because you've got this level of clarity, you know exactly. Those decisions become so easy. They become so obvious. And one of the big things that's a real mindset shift for business owners, and I'd be curious, to hear what you think about this in the chat, is, as a business owner, we spend so much time thinking about the business the way that we think it should be, right? Well, I want our colors to be blue and red, or I think, I want our product to be this price point, or I want our website to say these words. But it doesn't actually matter what you want. That's one of the big ahas of being a business owner. And that's one of the big mindset shifts. If you're building a business in service of your customers, it actually matters what they want, right? So at the end of the day, when I think about our colors, well, what colors would James like, right? When I think about the wording on our website, well, what are words that James would respond to? When I think about whether or not, we should do this idea A or this idea B, it's not about what idea I like more, right? It's, well, which of those would James prefer? Which would be naturally exciting to James? What is James interested in? And so by shifting the focus in the business from you to really making your ideal client the center of it, the core of it, then it is important because it's philosophically important, but B, it really makes decisions, again, so much easier. So with your SLAP statement, And then with your ideal client profile, all of a sudden strategic decisions that seemed so complicated or that seemed so overwhelming, or it seemed like, oh my gosh, I need to like sit in a room for 7 hours and build a whiteboard and try to figure it out. Those decisions become quick. Yes, no, he'd like that, she'd want that. Okay, let's do that. That's in line with my SLAP statement. Yes, that fits my priorities. And you can stay in action. And this is what I mean about the difference between a business plan and an action plan. A business plan is going to have these target markets and these 10-year projections and the this and the that and your fancy mission statement that is just a bunch of jargon that doesn't actually mean anything. Your action plan is going to have your SLAP statement. So you can make yes, no decisions on when you spend your time and your money. Your action plan is going to have an ideal client profile so that you can easily figure out what you should do, because it doesn't matter what you think. It actually matters what would resonate with your ideal client. So by knowing your SLAP statement and by knowing your ideal client, it drives you into quick and simple action. A lot of the things we toil about go away. A lot of the situations where we think, oh my God, I have no idea what to do, all of a sudden become quite clear actually, and instantly have a lot of clarity attached to them. So that's the power of doing this work. Now, how do you craft your ideal client? First of all, you literally, answer all these questions, but the way that you answer those questions, I recommend, is you actually think of 5 people who represent these 4 things here, right? Who are 5 of your existing customers who are happy to pay for your service or product, who value what you do, who refer other businesses to you, and who you enjoy working with. So just think of 5, 5 people who are like that. And then, answer these questions about those 5 real people. What you'll be surprised by is that there's probably pretty clear patterns and trends that emerge, and your ideal client is probably sitting right in front of you. It's probably really obvious. And so when you find those patterns, then you just sort of name it and say, this is the profile of my ideal client. I'm going to put my time and money into investing into finding those people, into connecting with them to hit my goals. So that's step 3. I'm going to keep going, but again, we're here to answer and help with any questions in chat. So step 4 is your 1-year goal. And this is about setting the right financial goals. Now, people often feel like they don't want to talk about their finances. I know that as business owners, I've had some terrible financial times in my life, and there's a lot of shame and embarrassment and guilt that comes from that. An interesting stat we have is that when people build their SLAPs in our software, when they get to the financial goal section, this is often where they sort of sign out or have trouble getting through it. And it's not because it's complicated. I just think it's because we have so much emotion around it as business owners. So what I want to do is really normalize it for you. So I try and take some of that emotion out of it and just make it really straightforward. So the first thing we're going to do when we think about the numbers is look at expenses. On the one hand, we look at our personal expenses. And then on the second hand, we look at our business expenses. And basically what we want to do is have you just make a list, right? To pay your personal bills, what does that cost? Maybe you know that, maybe you don't. But it's nothing fancy. Literally on the back of a napkin or right in your notepad, you can just make a list, right? Your rent or your mortgage, your groceries, your utilities, your car payment, whatever your personal expenses are. And step 1 is you actually get to a number. You get to whatever that number is. Let's say that number is $50,000 or that number is $100,000 or whatever that number is. That's number 1. Then when you go to the business expenses list and you start listing out your business expenses, the very, very, very first thing that should be on your business expenses page is your president's salary, right? So again, whether you are a sole proprietor and it's only you in the business, or you have been around, you've got 5 staff, you're the president of that business. And in order for this business to be profitable and sustainable, it has to pay you a salary. So what you just take that number from the personal expense side, the total of your personal expenses, and you add it as the president's salary on your business expenses. And then you think, okay, well, what are the other expenses my business has? The business has to pay its president. Does it have to pay other staff? Does it have rent? Does it have telephone, insurance, salaries, benefits, taxes, lawyers' fees, accounting fees, bookkeeping fees, etc. But what you want to get to at the end of those sort of two spreadsheets side by side, and again, I say spreadsheet, literally, I just do it in my notebook. You want to get to a break-even number. The total amount of the actual business expense, so actually looking at all your business expenses added up, that is your break-even number. That number is the amount of money that you need to make to pay your bills. That is a crucial number for you to know. That's your minimum. That's just gotta do it. Gotta make that much revenue. And so when you understand that break-even number, then we can work backwards and think about revenue. But until you know that break-even number, you could say to me, I want to make $300,000. And I could say, well, that sounds really good. But if you're actually spending $400,000 in business expenses, it's not great that we're making 300. You're losing 100,000 a year. And so it's really crucial that we have a very realistic understanding of the break-even number. And again, it's not fun, right? The last thing I want to do is sit around calculating my expenses. That is not the glamour of being a business owner, but it's the true work of being a business owner. It's a number we have to know, have to know. So that's step one. We got to get to that break-even number. So what I would say for the purpose of this exercise is, right, I want you to actually, pause, do this work properly. But for right now, write down the number that you think it probably is. So if you think it's probably approximately 150,000 or approximately 75,000 or approximately 900,000 or whatever you think that number is, write that down on your paper in front of you. Next, this is a little more fun. Next, we get to talk about revenue. So for your revenue streams, the idea for your revenue streams is that you're looking at all the things that you sell. So we've just talked about all the things that you have to pay for, right? All the expenses you have. Now let's talk about all the ways that you can actually make money, right? All the things that you can do to generate revenue. And our recommendation is that every good business has 3 to 5 revenue streams. So if you only sell one thing, that's a little risky, right? We would say that you're probably not diversified enough. If you think about your revenue streams in the thousands, so let's say you run a retail store, right? You wouldn't list every single item that you sell. So you might say, we sell dresses and blouses and pants. Or you might say, right, our average ticket price is, on the small side, $100 a checkout, on the mid-size, $200 a checkout, and on the large size, $500 a checkout. So you want to sort of look at either literally the things you sell, or buckets of the things that you sell that represent how you could think about how you want to grow the business and how you want to drive and focus on the driving of sales in those different categories. But the big thing here is to try to get to a number of revenue streams that is sort of manageable, that you can really be strategic about, that has enough diversity that if one of your revenue streams is sort of underperforming, you might make it up in another way, but also that is not so overwhelming that you can actually be quite on purpose about growing and driving sales for each of these revenue streams. After you've done that, after you've sort of got your revenue streams built, we've got to think about pricing. Now, pricing is a really interesting conversation with business owners. 99% of the time, you are charging less than you could. Really, we see it all the time. We see that business owners, from a place of generosity often, and also sometimes from a place of fear, we undervalue what we offer. And so we end up working really, really hard, but for below what we actually have value. And so the pricing is a really interesting one. And basically, when we talk about pricing, what I would say is you need to find the balance, right, between what the market can bear, right? So what can your ideal client afford? Ultimately, I could say that I think Slap is worth $20,000, right? But James can't afford $20,000. There's no way I could charge $20,000 for Slap. That could be, maybe that's my perceived value of it, but the market can't bear it, right? My ideal client can't afford that much money. So I need to find a price point that covers my expenses, right? Allows me to build a profitable and sustainable business, but also, is realistic for my ideal client's budget. So that's the parameters that you have to find your pricing in, right? Are you setting your prices high enough that you can cover your break-even number, have a profitable and sustainable business, right? Deliver the work with the right capacity on your team. Do you actually have your price points at the point that you can survive, right? That it fits your budget, that it fits your goals. But then also, is it low enough, right, that you're not creating a reality where your ideal client just couldn't buy it, right? It's outside of the realm of possibility. In between those two is the right price, right? The buffer between what you need it to be and what the customer can realistically afford to pay, right? That's the price that is the right price. But it's worth being thoughtful about this. And again, it's worth knowing that probably you could increase your prices because, like I said, we see over 90% of the businesses that we've worked with are undercharging. There's room to increase their prices as a way to create more profit and sustainability. One thing I'll just say here on average sales price, sometimes we get overwhelmed by how many sales we have to make, how hard it is to grow the business, right? One of the most easy ways, I don't think that's good grammar, one of the easiest ways to generate more money, to create more profit in your business is to increase your prices, right? Because without having to make any new sales or any more sales, you're instantly making more money. So you could do the exact same amount of work you're doing right now, but instantly make more money because you've raised your price, right? So there's a real risk to sort of living in this reality where you keep your prices below what is reasonable. It's an easy win. And again, just because we know small businesses chronically underprice, there's probably room for you there to find more profit without having to do any more work. And so that's exciting, right? We want to find those opportunities to win, to find new money. Now, one thing we do have to factor in, right, is that just because you sell something, so let's say I sell Slap for, $300 a month, I don't keep $300 a month, right? When I make that sale, I've got new costs that I incur, material, labor, maybe I discount it, maybe I give a partner revenue share, right? So just because I generate that money doesn't mean I'm keeping all that money, right? There are different from our business expenses, there's these variable expenses, right? Costs that we incur when we make a new sale, right? Costs we have to spend to deliver on this new sale we've made. And so understanding those variable expenses is really important. So as you think about each of your revenue streams on your little pad of paper, and as you write the sales price, right, the price that you think you could charge, not the price you are charging now, but the price you want to charge, below that price, just start to remind yourself and write out, oh crap, these are the variable expenses that I have. Oh crap, like I've got this and this and this. Okay, so if I charge out, or if someone pays me $500, right, I actually keep $250, right? My profit margin is actually 50% on that. And the $250 that I keep is what goes against that break-even number, right? So just really understanding that there's a difference between the amount of money you collect, right, and the amount of money that actually can be applied to the break-even number, because some of that money will have to go against your variable expenses. And this is where we get to really understanding the units of sale that we have to make. So basically, and this is a bit complicated to do in a spreadsheet like this, or in a deck like this. In our software, we do it for you. We calculate it basically. But what we do is we say, okay, if we have all these revenue streams, right, and we're selling each of them for, X number of dollars, and then we understand that we want to generate our revenue, right, from these different revenue streams, and so you see this percentage of sales column. Basically, if I'm going to generate 50% of my revenue from revenue stream 1 and 20% of my revenue from revenue two, and do an equation where I know the total amount of revenue that I have to generate from each of my revenue streams based on the percentage of total revenue I have to generate. And then in a calculation, you calculate that out to turn into sales goals. Now, again, I'm not explaining that very well. We will send all of you guys basically an Excel spreadsheet where you can enter these numbers and the calculation will happen for you. But what translates is by understanding your break-even number, by understanding your revenue streams, and for each revenue stream, your price point and your variable expenses, and then really being clear about how much of your revenue you expect to generate from each revenue stream, we can easily calculate for you the number of sales you have to make in each of your revenue stream in order to hit your financial goals. And what happens in that calculation is three things. Number one, you get to real clarity, right? You, instead of saying, I want to make $500,000, you would say instead, okay, I'm going to sell 22 of revenue stream 1 at $500, and I need to sell 37 of revenue stream 2, at $50, and I need to sell 123 of revenue stream 3 at $300, for example. So now all of a sudden, instead of having a goal that's sort of broad and big and unclear about how you would even get there or what it even means, now you have a goal that is completely concise. And in that clarity is where progress can happen, right? When we know exactly what we're trying to accomplish and we are moving our way against it, then we actually have a lot higher ability to accomplish it, right? If I say to you, I need to sell 37 slaps by February 1st, my chance of doing that is like 150 times higher than if I said to you, I'd like to grow my business by 10% by February 1st, right? The psychology of specificity drives our outcomes. So when you speak in generalities, or when you say, I want X, or I'd like to do this, or I want to grow here, your chance of accomplishing it is almost zero. From a psychology point of view, saying, I'd like to grow my business, or I want to grow by 10%, is basically like, just breathing air, just blowing out air. Nothing's going to happen. If you say instead, I'm going to generate $421,000 by selling 22 of this and 37 of this and 123 of this, and I'm going to do that by this date, your chance of success has just gone up dramatically, just by naming it, just by being so clear about the deadline you have for yourself and exactly what you're going to do. The specificity matters. So that's number one. Number one is we get to total clarity. Number two is we have to be honest, right? So when we go back to the beginning of what we talked about with behavior change science, right? Set modest goals. Oftentimes what happens when that calculation is finished is you look at the outcome. You look at the number of sales you have to make to cover your break-even number. And you have what we call a slap moment or a crap moment. Like, oh my God, there is no way I can make that many sales, right? That is like astronomically higher than any amount of sales I've ever made in any year of my life. So what we do when we look at that is we say, okay, if that calculation gets us to a goal that's just completely unrealistic, it's just too high, we cannot do it, then we let math work to our advantage, right? If you need to decrease the number of sales because they're unrealistic, you only have two choices, right? The math is obvious. You either have to decrease your break-even number, which means you have to decrease your expenses, or you have to increase your sales price, right? You have to increase what you're charging. That's the only two mathematical ways that you can decrease the number of sales that you have to make. So when the truth comes at you in that slap moment where, you see your sales goal and you see the number of sales you have to make to hit that sales goal, and then you look at it, if you think, oh, I can do that, that's awesome. But if you think to yourself, there's just no way that I can sell and deliver that much, then we go to the third thing, which again is action, right? Then we got to get realistic. you're spending too much, right? Can we cut your expenses? Or we've got to go back to that pricing conversation and say, what can the market bear? Can we increase our prices? Can we charge more for what we do? And it's only in those two ways that we can find and adjust and basically jigsaw puzzle our 1-year goal. But living in those numbers is incredibly helpful, right? You having a really clear understanding. Okay, which of my expenses are non-negotiable? Which ones can I cut? In a moment where there's so much financial sort of instability in the world, actually having a really clear handle on this is really important. I can give you guys a kind of a dramatic example of this. When COVID hit in March of 2020, I sat down with our numbers. I use Slap. I do Slap for Silver Lining. I do this exact process for our business every year. And basically what I wanted to do was make Slap pay what you can. So Slap is usually $300 a month. But I knew that COVID was going to be really hard on small business owners. And so in order to live into our mission, to be values oriented, to, going back to mindset, right, and my impact statement, I care about the economy and I care about equality. And I wanted to do something to help small businesses, get through the really difficult circumstances that COVID was going to bring. So I knew that small businesses were going to struggle to afford $300 a month, especially those who were minority businesses or who were in a difficult financial situation to start with. And so I wanted to make Slap pay what you can for every small business, right? So I wanted to play with my pricing. I wanted to basically make the assumption that our price was going to go down, right? Instead of it being $300, the average payment was going to go down dramatically. Now, as you can imagine, that totally messes with my numbers, right? So if everyone starts paying way less for our product, so if I do the opposite of what I've just advised you, I've just given you all these speeches about increase your prices. I was basically saying, I'm going to let people pay whatever they want and assume that our revenue is going to go dramatically down, right? So if I know my price is coming down, if I know that that's going to happen, what that means is that the instant reaction to that, right? The instant jigsaw to that in my jigsaw puzzle by numbers is that the number of sales I have to make to stay sustainable is going to go up dramatically, right? I need to make way more sales to basically just break even if my price goes down. Now, we were going to focus on sales, but I also knew that wasn't just completely realistic, right? It wasn't like we were magically going to like quadruple our signups just because, we brought our pricing down. So then I had to go back to our expenses and I had to look at my break-even number and say, okay, what is every single thing I can do to bring this number down? And I canceled subscriptions and I canceled everything I could, and I cut all my personal expenses and I cut my personal salary and I cut everything I could. And I also had made a commitment that I didn't want to lay off any of our staff. I wanted to try to keep our team together and keep our team, in it. And so I went to my break-even budget, right, with that point of view. I don't want to lay our team off. So what is everything else I can do? What personal costs can I make? How do I basically make every single sacrifice on the planet that is humanly possible that will allow for me to do right by our customers by decreasing our prices, making Slap pay what you can, and by decreasing our expenses without laying off our staff. And it's that jigsaw. I played with this exact jigsaw of these exact numbers to try to get us to a reality that I could do both of those things. And again, neither of those decisions were the best financial decisions, certainly for me or Silver Lining. It ended up creating a lot of difficulty from a personal financial point of view. But from a mindset point of view, I had never been more optimized because I was living my values. So I was trying to use my business to have the impact I wanted to have in the world at a moment of crisis. And I was also very clear. I didn't sort of randomly say, let's make Slap pay what you can, we'll figure it out. I went to my numbers. I was very clear about what I had to do to my break-even numbers. I was very clear about what would happen to our revenue. I was very clear about what that would mean to our, sales projections and how it would change our sales goals. And I did it with intentionality. And so it's a story of, I'm not saying I'm not saying I made the right decisions, but what I did do right is I had clarity. I was very, very, very clear using my Slap looking at my pricing, looking at my break-even number, and basically rejiggering my numbers to make those two key decisions, right? Make Slap pay what you can, no revenue will come down, keep our staff employed. Those were my two singular focuses, and I did it with intentionality. The point with your numbers is that doing your financials, right, and setting these sales goals, there's no right or wrong answer to what your sales goals should be. You don't have to make $1 million, right? You don't have to grow your revenue next year. You don't have to do anything. The point of being a business owner is that you should build the business that matters to you. You should do what is right for you. You should do what is aligned to your values. And your numbers are basically the strategy, the jigsaw puzzle, the place where you can adjust and play and understand so that you can do those things intentionally. What is really dangerous is not knowing your numbers, not having a plan, not being organized about what exactly you're doing with your numbers. That's really dangerous, right? Not knowing your break even, not having a clear pricing strategy. That's dangerous. Not having a clear goal, right? That's dangerous. But what that goal is and how you arrive at it and how you massage the numbers to make it all work, that's up to you. And there's a lot of freedom in that. And so instead of sort of shying away from the numbers or being a little scared of the numbers, I would instead say, dive into them. You know, knowing this information and using this formula that we have to set these sales goals and calculate these sales goals is really freeing and kind of fun when you get into it. So we will send you guys that spreadsheet that allows for you to, you know, enter your numbers and basically do that same exercise I did, right? What is the relationship between my break-even number, my pricing, and ultimately the number of sales I have to make? And if I want to change anything strategically, if I want to adjust anything strategically, right, what's the impact on the numbers? And just being able to see it and build it and be intentional about it is a game changer. And like I said, from a psychology point of view, when you have that clear goal, right, I will sell this much revenue and this much profit by this date by making this many sales of each of these things. That's a goal that you will accomplish. Just having that clarity increases your chance of success astronomically before you even done anything to actually hit those goals. So that's the power of the 1-year goal. Now, the last step is your action plan. And I'm going to go through this reasonably quickly because there's a couple of really big overarching points that are really important. So the first is your sales goals are annual goals. They're 1-year goals. So it's really important that obviously your action plan is a 1-year plan. So you can see here that what we're suggesting is that you take your 12 months and you break it into 4 quarters. So you've got, and that doesn't have to start on the calendar year. That doesn't have to start on your fiscal year. It's just, it can start February 1st or March 1st, but basically it's a 12-month cycle that you're working through. And in each quarter, you're going to have a series of decisions that you make to keep you focused and productive so that you use the time and money that you have to your best and highest ability so that you can get to the outcomes that you want. So the first thing that you do for each quarter is you think about the world events, right? So in Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4, what is happening around you? One of the mistakes we make as business owners is that we sort of think, well, I'll start a blog on this day, or I'll do a referral campaign on this day, or I'll do a cold calling campaign on this day. And instead of thinking about the fact that, well, maybe your ideal client's on vacation because it's the summer months, or maybe your ideal client is doing X because their kids are going back to school. We oftentimes think things don't work, but it's not that the strategy didn't work, it's that the timing wasn't right. So if we want to be really aware that all of our efforts are going to have the highest maximum potential, we first need to remember that there's a lot of things that happen in the world around us, the holidays, the seasons, all sorts of things. I'm Canadian, and so when the hockey season starts is a thing. People's behavior changes when hockey's back on TV. So really having this clarity about what's happening in the world around us and how that is true in each quarter. That's step 1. Then step 2 is we have what we call connecting strategies. And one of the biggest things I hope you guys take away from this is that when you're connecting with your ideal client, I would love for you to retire the word marketing and sales. People don't want to be marketed to. People don't want to be sold. That is like gross and ugly and yucky language, right? None of us want that. We want to be connected with. So we think about the action plan. We think about going out and finding new customers as connecting strategies. So how can we connect with our ideal client? How can we connect with them in new ways to find new clients? How can we connect with our existing clients in ways that allow them to do more business with us? But instead of marketing and selling, I invite you to connect. It just changes the entire way that you approach how you do your work. And these are the different connecting strategies that we have. So connect, prep, referrals, hit list, partnerships, loyalty, events, media, online connecting, and special deals. These are 9 different ways that you can basically spend very little money and a reasonable amount of time to find new customers. And each of these have different purposes and different strengths and different pros and cons. The 2 things though that matter for you as you look at this list, and I'd love you to just write down which of these you think would work best for you. But the 2 things to ask yourself as you think about which of these connecting strategies would work best for you are, number 1, what's your ideal client going to respond best to, right? Maybe you love going to events, but your ideal client doesn't go to events. So going to events is not the right connecting strategy because you're not going to find your ideal client there. They don't go to events, right? Or maybe you hate the idea of social media, but your ideal client is always online, right? They live, eat, breathe, sleep on Instagram. Well, if they're always online, then you need to be online because that's how you're going to connect with them. So you probably need to do online connecting. So the first and most important thing is, right, where is your ideal client? Which of these is going to work best to find your ideal client, to connect with them? And then the second is, are you going to be able to do it, right? Maybe you have social phobia. And so maybe your ideal client goes to events, but literally if you try to go to events, you're going to have a nervous breakdown as an example. Well, then don't choose events, right? So if you just don't really want to do it, that's not a good enough reason not to do it if your ideal client's there. If you have a reason why you can't do it, a real genuine reason why you can't, then make sure you don't choose a connecting strategy that you're basically gonna, you're not gonna succeed at. But most important as you look at this list of connecting strategies is this aha of don't market, don't sell, connect. And number 2 is do the connecting strategies that matter to your ideal client. Where is your ideal client? What do they do? What are their habits? What are their behaviors? What are the ways that they spend their time and their energy and their money? How can you best connect with them? Where are they? And use the connecting strategies that will best connect with them. Again, it's not about you. It's about them. So what I'd love for you to do is just write down, of all the connecting strategies you see here, what are the top 3 or 4 that you think are going to be most helpful to connect with your ideal client? Then step 5 is actually just building in your connecting campaigns. So let's say you're going to do media. Let's say you want to, get yourself out into the press. Then you actually have to decide exactly how you're going to do that, right? So exactly what campaigns are you going to run to do, media? Inside of Slap Center, our software, we have over 95 campaigns that we've templated for you. So let's say you want to use media. I think we've got 8 media campaigns that have a training video and all the templates and the press releases and how to write a press release and how to send it out and how to get press coverage. So we've templated that for you, but we also have a free ebook on our resources page, which is a list of all those campaigns as well with a brief summary. So if you need some inspiration for, how you would actually translate these connecting strategies into actionable campaigns that you can do to actually go out and connect with your ideal client and increase your sales. If you want a free resource, you just go to that resources page and download that ebook. And if you want, the broader support of Slap, then all of that becomes really straightforward in our software. Basically, we build it for you and give you all the steps to do it. So that's your action plan. The big thing about all of this is that, and this is really sort of the crucial piece, in order to do this plan, right? So at the highest level, the big things that I'm hoping you're taking away are, right? It all starts with your mindset. You've got to be focused, ready, clear about the impact you want to have, clear about what you can invest, clear about what you want to get out, really understanding that at the end of the day, you, the business owner, have a significant impact on your business's success, right? So that's the first thing. That's just about taking responsibility and ownership, right? Then from a strategy point of view, right, it's creating your SLAP statement, creating your ideal client profile, setting your 1-year goal, and building a comprehensive sort of 12-month action plan, right? Your connecting strategies and then translating that into your connecting campaigns. The strategy piece of it's quite simple, right? If you think about the things I just said, really, we're trying to get you to make a couple of key decisions, right? What do you do? Who do you do it for? What scale do you do it on? What is the ideal profile? Sorry, what's the profile of your ideal client? Who are these humans so that we can know how to connect with them best, right? What's your break-even number? What do you sell? How much do you sell it for? And what are the number of sales we have to make in the next 12 months to cover our break-even numbers, right? And hit our goals. And then for the next 12 months, how are we going to go find our customers, right? How are we going to connect with them? What strategies are we going to use? And then practically, what are the steps we're going to take to actually go out into the world, connect with real humans who are our ideal client, and talk to them about what we do and ultimately sell them what we do. There's not the strategy of how to grow a business is actually pretty straightforward. You don't need to know everything. You need to have real clarity on a couple of key things, and then really drive, stay focused, stay disciplined, don't get distracted. But once that's built, and just so you know, inside of our software, for the people who use SLAP to build, to use our software and use our whole structure, it only takes about 3 hours to build that entire plan in a lot of detail, right? So this isn't like some 12-month process. I think you can have an incredibly comprehensive, clear, actionable business plan that drives you into action, in 3 hours. And every business we work with does that. What really matters is what we do with that plan, right? So as we all know, we can have the best plan in the world, but if all we do after today is, leave this page of notes, in our notebook and never look at it again, or if all we do is sort of say, oh, well, that was a nice thing to talk about. Okay, now back to my life, back to the same old, then nothing changes. So again, like I said earlier, whether it's SLAP or somebody else, I want you to have the structure and support that will allow you to not just set goals, not just think about what you want, but actually get it. The reason I'm so passionate about this is that I know it's possible. I have seen so many people get clear about what they want, think that it's scary and beyond what's possible, be faced with crazy challenges like pandemics and illnesses and financial realities and family realities, and still accomplish their goals. And in that, because I see that so often, because I know it's possible, I'm so passionate about people getting the right support so that everyone can accomplish their goals, right? If we know it's possible, why wouldn't we do it? So in the world of SLAP, what support looks like is this. You have, your software account to build your plan, and then to track your plan and to access all the resources we make available to you. You have SLAP School, which is 14 live training events a month, plus those 90 connecting campaigns, and we're always adding new ones, basically helping you with the templates and the action items of exactly how to implement these different campaigns to go find new customers. You have SLAP World, which is a leaderboard. You get a SLAP score, which basically gives you an overall rating of how you're doing. You can win prizes based on that. You can make offers to other small businesses. You can find businesses to do business with, to talk to hang out with each other. And basically, we're always curating opportunities, contests, promotions, fun that allow you to connect with other people and opportunities to hit your goals. And then you have, in the world of Silver Lining, you have a SLAP manager, which is your accountability team. We have a SLAP manager team. They're amazing. They're available 24/7 by, text, instant chat, email, anything that you need, 1-800 number. And their job is to keep you on track. Their job is to be the people reaching out to you saying, hey, did you do that thing you said you were going to? Hey, let's get on a mindset call and let's update Slap Center and let's think about, let's pause and reflect together. Let's think about what's working, what's not, how you can optimize, let's keep you doing it. Let's stay on track. Let's hit these goals. And then every small business gets matched to a Slap expert as well. And Slap experts are all people who have built multi-million-dollar businesses, who are very successful in their own right. And you get matched to a Slap expert for the full year process. And you talk to them once a month to talk strategy. And if you look at these 5 fingers of Slap, as we call them, these are exactly matching, right? The pillars of behavior change. So in Slap Center, you set modest goals and you rigorously track your behavior. With your Slap expert, you get outside counseling and coaching. Through Slap World, you get peer support, right? Through the whole process, you have the ability to instill new habits. Your Slap managers are there to keep you on track and keep driving you when you fall off. This is basically behavior change science built into these 5 fingers. It is the pillars of behavior change built and integrated for you so that you've got this comprehensive support structure built around you so that if you really are committed to growth, right? If you really are if that first step of behavior change is true and you really do have commitment, you're really ready to take action, then all of this support comes around you in such a way that it's almost impossible to fail, quite honestly. It's almost impossible. If you are committed and then you take advantage of this structure, the chance of success is so high. And that's not because it's magic. It's because when we as humans say we're going to do something, wrap structure and support around ourselves, and then actually take action and do it, we're capable of anything. And that's what I think is so exciting. In a time period for business owners that is so challenging and exhausting and can be scary and anxiety inducing, I feel the opposite. I feel so much hope because I know it is possible to set goals, to wrap structure and support around you, to have peer community, to have outside coaching, to not be alone, to have a strategy, to have a plan, to know the numbers, and despite the challenges, to succeed, to be okay, to get through. And we see that in every business that we work with, and it's so inspiring. And so whether it's with Silver Lining or with someone else, what I want for you, right, is the clarity of knowing where you're going, the clarity of having clear goals, an action plan that drives you into action, and then something comprehensive like this, the support structure that wraps around you so that you've got everything you need to not just set the goal, to not just say you want something, but to get it, to create it, to deliver on it. Because I know with 100% confidence that is possible. We see it over and over and over again all the time. So as I always say, this is like the cheesiest little line of all time, but I do believe it. There's no silver bullet. Growing a business is not, hoping, wishing, praying that some random magical thing will happen, right? It is a series of small steps we make day after day after day, every day forever, that builds success. So there's no silver bullet. But there is a silver lining. And the silver lining is that I know for a fact, and I've got 15 years of data to prove it, working with thousands of business owners, that when you're committed, when you are clear, when you have goals, you name them out loud, and then you wrap structure and support around yourself, you can accomplish anything. I know it. I've experienced it myself. I've seen it in our businesses, and I want it for you. And so in a moment, again, that is so challenging, I am even more passionate about each of you succeeding because you deserve to succeed. Everyone deserves to live life doing what they love and making money doing it. That should be a minimum for everyone on this planet. And our economy needs you, right? We all need to be our best selves right now and, deliver at the highest possible level so that we can restore our communities and we can keep our economy thriving despite sort of the challenges that the world goes through right now. So I want success for you, and I want each of us to contribute to the success of our broader economy. And I know it's possible. So if there's anything we can do to help you, we're here, no strings attached. As I mentioned earlier, SLAP is pay what you can. We did make that commitment, and that is still the commitment we have. And so if building a SLAP and having our structure and support is helpful to you, we're here. We don't want, your current financial reality to stop you from getting the structure and support that you need in order to accomplish your goals. You can talk to our team anytime. You can email that support@smallbizsilverlining.com email address anytime. But we want to see you succeed. That's what we want. We want you to make money doing what you love and for your dreams to come true. So we're here to support you. And again, I hope that what you've taken from today doesn't just sit on a shelf or, in the back of your brain. I challenge you to take one clear action where you take something from today and you implement it so that the time you've invested listening to this translates into results, right? We want to make sure every time we take any